So whilst I was scrolling through Facebook, a sponsored ad came up saying Melbourne singles, there's something called Offline Valentine. If finding a real connection is something that's important to you, have a read, and look into further. So I ended up clicking the link and going to the website and finding out a little bit more. And the things that jumped out at me were that you could meet your match, where you would get one-on-one time to actually sit down with someone you've been matched with on similar interests, similar values, and also similar preferences. So for me, that sounded interesting. That's really hard initially to find if you're not paying subscriptions or you're not, running around to social events and those sorts of things. You were almost instantly paired or matched with like-minded people or a like-minded person of similar interests. So that hard work was already done for you. So as I kept reading through the website, I decided to sign up and I paid my money and bought my ticket. And part of that process was then answering a set of questions. It's things around your interests, things around you as a person, things around some of your hobbies, and then things that you find important in a match or a partner. So that gives Sarah a good understanding of who you are and then what you're looking for. I took my time to answer those questions, put in as much detail as I could. And the really nice thing was that I didn't know is that then Sarah gives you a call and has a chat with you about your answers. So it's not like you've just completed a form and then you've just gone, into a database. Sarah actually will give you a call and she has a chat with you about your answers, determines how important some things are. And of course, we all are looking for someone we can trust. We're all looking for someone we can communicate with well, but Sarah helps you filter those through the phone call with what's of high importance, what's medium importance, and what can be worked around, and then helps determine an all-round kind of match for you. And then she keeps in touch with you as the process goes on, as the event gets closer. And fortunately for me, all of my non-negotiables and everything all were able to get met, and I had a great time. So before turning up, I was quite nervous. I wasn't too sure what to expect or how everything would sort of play out. But when I did turn up, there's a friendly greeting, you know exactly where to go. You're given a card with all of the details of your match, and you're directed towards a bar to get a drink. And there's an opportunity to just go around and introduce yourself and say hello. And initially that was quite nerve-wracking for me, to be in a room with lots of people that, whilst we had similar interests and we're all there for the same reason, it was a little bit hard to start some of the conversations or to go up to complete strangers and start talking. But there's a really fun game which involves some padlocks and locks, which help kind of break the ice a little bit to go around and have a chat and introduce yourself. It gives you a point of conversation so you can have a chat with people. And then after you've had a little bit of time to get settled and get into the mood and the environment and chat with people, you're then directed towards your match. And you sit down together. You have about an hour to go through the questions that you're given much in time to prepare for, so the 36 questions. And you go through those with your partner. You take it in turns to read through the questions and share your stories. And quite often, right from question one, you already find you have things in common. You already find that some of your answers are actually quite similar because of that matchmaking process that's happened behind the scenes. So it's actually quite fun. And for me, I found we didn't actually get through all of the questions because there were just so many things that we had in common that we ended up chatting about that the topic went, back and forth. But you do get enough time to get into the depth of questions, the deeper sort of part of getting to know somebody. And the really nice thing is it's a very comfortable environment. There's no pressures on anybody to be a certain way or anything like that at all. So I think that's a really, really positive thing to mention about attending Offline Valentine, is that the general event itself, is a very comfortable, mood. It's got a very friendly vibe, and there are hosts there to help you out and answer any questions too. But more importantly, you genuinely get that time to talk to people, to get to know them, to go around too. There's time beforehand and there's time after the event as well to socialize and to chat. Obviously focusing on the 36 questions, which is something I would recommend to anyone as just an experience to go for. It's a growing experience, it's a sharing experience, and it's heaps of fun. So that's generally the gist of how I got into Offline Valentine, and I would certainly recommend it to anyone wanting to try the same thing. In the lead up to the event, the Offline Valentine posts a lot of videos, a lot of information about how the event will go in forms of timeline, in terms of logistics. One thing that was really handy was it had parking information on the event as well, for people traveling, far and wide or a long way to get there. It had public transport information as well, and food and drinks and that sort of stuff was very well organized. But in the lead up, more importantly, you also got little sneak peeks into how the process works. So the event would post occasionally a couple of match cards or group cards, just so you could see how the process works and some of the things that you were paired up on, like similar interests or activities, whether it was sometimes area or location. Sometimes it was you had very, very similar values that you ticked off as being important as well. So you got to see the process kind of unfold, and Sarah is regularly in touch with you as well in the lead up to the event too. So you're very well versed after purchasing your ticket with what's happening and what's going to happen. As someone who's an introvert, initially when I looked at Offline Valentine, I thought this might be a little bit out there for someone like me. And I consulted a few of my friends and I said, do you think this might be the right kind of event or right kind of environment? Because I'd hate to pay the money and then turn up and then find I'm not outward enough or I'm not social enough. But surprisingly, this event is fantastic for introverts, and I'm saying that because my friends recommended it for me. They said this will be a really, really good thing to go to, because it weeds out a lot of the initial things that make it hard to find a connection with somebody, or actually find a location and a place and a spot where you can actually really get to know somebody. So the 36 questions are really, really good in that way, that I think a lot of introverts have probably already thought this at some point in time, or have wanted to share this story at some point in time. So once you do get down to the nitty-gritty of the 36 questions, for me as an introvert, already knowing and sitting in front of someone who I knew had similar interests, who had similar values, was very, very easy, because we got along very, very well. And not necessarily that it's just for introverts as well. The socializing aspect before and after the 36 questions as well is suited for both introverts and extroverts as well. But initially for me, I thought, I don't know how, being an introverted personality, this event would work out really well. But in terms of the final result, I actually grew more as a person, feeling more comfortable to actually engage with somebody, to ask questions, to get to know, and to share your own story, which was very easy in this environment. It's a very safe environment, it's very comfortable. So that is a big growth experience for me, and it's helped me going forwards as well. So what I would like to say is just a thank you to Sarah and the team and everyone who works behind the scenes with the Offline Valentine event, because it was a great experience. It was something I never thought I would do, and it's something I would definitely consider attending, again in the future. But just a big thank you for all the hard work that goes behind, matching and discussing people's interests. Sarah rings every single person who purchases a ticket and discusses their match options and their preferences and those sorts of things. So it's also, just a big thank you for organising everything, and they're very well organised in terms of logistics and time frame. If you're considering joining Offline Valentine, or if you've had a browse and you're interested, I definitely recommend, if it's already caught your eye, then do it. Buy a ticket, give it a go. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain.